got during hunting. It was a good preference. Or taxidermy mounts are nice for certain things, but I wouldn't rely on a pattern because you'll be copying something from a taxidermy mount, so it might, depending on how good the taxidermist is, there might be not as accurate and things like that, but there's still good reference, there's good reference to be gained by having them. And photographs, whether you take pictures yourself of ducks, or you can go online and find several resources of different photographs. I do a lot of that where I'll go on and, for example, for about 5 minutes tonight, I just pulled up a bunch of canvasback photographs, and this is kind of cool. It has a wing out and pretty nice profile. So I kind of look for profiles, and I might be looking for certain things like, I like this look at the body, and I like this whole bird itself actually. This is a nice photograph, even though you don't see the body. It's a nice profile of the head, and it's pretty straight on because if you look at this closely, you can see through the nostrils, and that's a good indication that you have a good side view where you're not.
You got this off the internet?
It's off the internet.
You just put in canvasback?
Canvasback and then images.
Okay.
This one's another nice profile. You can't see through the nostril, and you can tell you're kind of looking down on this bird a little bit, but it's still you can get good information and a decent pattern out of that. Here's a cool one with sleeping. You want to do a nice sleeper. Not a canvasback, but a nice top view of a bluebill. You can even get wings. That's a bluebill drake, I think. Backside picture. Kind of cool. You just get information from photos. A couple other ones here. Nice. This is a nice profile of a redhead alert. That's pretty good as far as straight on. And actually, that when I print it off, it's almost to scale. Interesting mallard. I found this somewhere. Kind of the differences between a lesser and greater Scott bluebills. So it kind of goes through and gives you nice profiles of the heads and straight on, and then the bodies, just like, and it describes the similarities and the differences. You can gain a lot on the internet with knowledge, and you kind of want to look at your species and see what makes a canvasback a canvasback. They have a nice thin bill and sloping forehead, kind of a thicker neck. Redhead has a lot of times in the redhead and the bluebill, their forehead is their highest part. So it's kind of a sweeping up, like the redhead versus the canvasback. You can see the difference in the head. You want to capture that in your carving and your pattern. So you want to notice those subtle differences that make this, you can tell it's a redhead even before you paint it, or this is a canvasback. So things like that you want to be aware of. So like I said, I do a lot of studying on pictures, and just get inspired by something. There's a cool picture of a bluebill. That'd be a cool carving. So a challenging one, but neat one. So once I've gathered some photographs I like, you could either, and what I do is to get them to scale, I generally rely on a study bill. So this is a casting off a real canvasback. And I know they can vary in size a little bit, but the carving you make can be varying in size as well. So I start with this. I know the distance from from back there to the front will be my scale. I kind of use that as a scale to determine how to blow up a photograph, let's say. This is a nice profile of a hen, and the hens and drakes, their profile is pretty much very similar. It's colored different, and the drake will be bigger than the hen, but this is a nice profile, nice side, straight on profile. And this will work nicely with my projector, a smaller image like this versus a larger image. But I'm going to use this one to make a pattern off of. And we can make this, I'm going to do the size of a drake. So, so what I'll do is you can either take this photo, go to a copy center, or spend a day at your work, not working and making a pattern. Go to the copier, and if you can enlarge it, you can play with that. You know, just guess, I'd say 150%, start there and put it in the copier and see where it is. And then you got this in your study bill, and you can measure, go back and forth, adjust it up or down. That's one way of doing it. Another way is a projector like this. I'll show you how that works. Or the other way is you can draw it freehand if you're a talented person, and there'll be some of that in there anyway, because you'll be adjusting things and figuring things out, especially when it comes to the body and stuff. But I rely on photos quite a bit for my heads, and then the bodies I kind of do a lot of just drawing and free drawing, and I'll show you how I go about doing that for measurements and such. So I'm going to get into drawing this pattern with this projector.
Can I ask a question, Ted?
Yeah.
How do you decide between working off of a pattern that exists already versus creating your own pattern?
Yeah.
From scratch?
I there's nothing wrong with doing that. I still rely on pattern books and stuff just to check me for size, and I still use that as a reference, you know, just for certain areas and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with using that as your pattern. If you want to get into making something from scratch or a little different than that pattern, that's where it comes into kind of making your own. And you can take a pattern and adjust it a little bit, and raise the head a little bit, or pull it forward a little bit, and things like that, or tuck it down, drop the tail. You know, if you're looking at a pattern that has a higher tail, you drop it in the water. And you're still using that pattern for size, but you're kind of creating your own pattern. The one thing with divers, like canvasbacks and redheads and stuff, a lot of times you'll see, even though this one is kind of up off the water, but it's got the dropped wings and stuff, so the tail's up a little bit. A lot of times you'll see divers where the tail's right on the water. So puddle ducks mainly, their tails are kind of up. You don't, unless they're doing a real fancy preen or something like that, they'll kind of drop their tails down, fan them out. That would make an interesting carving, but otherwise, a lot of times the divers, you'll see tails could be on the water, but you'll want to, if you want to do that and make it on the water, you got to plan that in your pattern so you don't allow too much wood underneath the tail, because you're going to need 100 pounds to pull that tail down to the water. So you just need to think about that when you're laying out your pattern. So I got a couple lights here, so we're not all in the dark.
What's going back here?
So I'm just gonna check that here. So it needs to be a little bigger. So I'm pulling it back.
It's close.
Pretty close right there. I'm just gonna move it just a hair back. It's pretty good. So now it's just taking a pencil.
How do you have this set up at your house, Tom, for doing this? Is it similar to this on the wall?
Yeah. Yep.
A projector, yeah. I think they had them at Dick Blick. I can't remember about, I had one just like that.
They're pretty spendy or?
No, I don't think they're that much. It's just plastic. It's just made out of plastic. It's too expensive, I think.
Gee, I don't know what grandchildren.
Yeah, if they could find them.
I had those at school, and they were a lot bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the giant ones.
I mean, you know, I used a couple there, and, but I didn't use the divider to get the length of the bill or anything, I just kind of moved it around so it looked right. And I'd look in my books and try and put a body on there and say, okay, it's gotta be 14 inches long, and then that's where I would try and get the scale right, was by using the length of the body. But this is,
This is why he's a world champion and we're Kinko's customers.
we're sitting in lawn chairs and Tom's working.
It kind of gives you a quick idea of how quick you can get something.
What's really fun is getting the neighbors going by doing that on the patio instead of the wall.
Gonna bring my bat.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, really good. That's nice.
That's a pretty nice looking can, I think. So. I'll just kind of clean things up then.
Did you take art in high school?
In elementary, I had some classes, but
Good finger painter.
Yeah.
I chickened out.
I'm a copier. I just
Yeah.
traced everything. So I'll check some measurements and things. So I've got these study skins.
Tracer. It's the tracer. He's got the box if you want to look at it.
I'll go with
Here's another pretty cool canvas back. It'd be kind of a neat, neat one. Pretty straight on. You can see right through that nostril. Pass that around so you get a good idea what I'm talking about.
That's how they look just before they fly.
that. Yeah, he's on lookout. I'm getting the hell out of here.
Kind of a neat carving.
Yeah. The more unique you can make it, the more it's.
So I'll kind of start from the tail. You know, it's kind of a ratty tail, but I'll kind of measure If you can see, measure from the rump to the length of the tail, and just kind of double check myself. The tail is kind of cut off in the photo, so I'm kind of,
His body's really in the water there.
He said,
Oh, yeah, he's sitting down there, he's,
and we'll take a measurement from the tail from back there to this part.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
that's
very-
good there.
Yeah.
Now I take a measurement from the tail to the back of the side pocket.
Yeah. The hole in the tail.
Pretty close. You want to check your reference too. You know, this photo, it shows there being more distance, so check your reference. Sometimes that tail on some ducks is pretty close to the rump here, the back of the side pocket, so. And then I'll check my shoulder. It's not gonna work.
You know, all those drafting tools you have?
Yeah.
I had to buy them for high school.
That's pretty close. That's about how short I am, so I'm pretty close. And so this is all kind of tying in. So now I'm just going to draw in the secondaries here. And the primaries.
Yeah.
This too, or did you let your hard copy?
I even have a slide rule with the book on how to use it. It's still fun to play with. So kids, you can use a slide rule to get through math. Yeah. You don't have to have your phone.
Just kind of sketching in some primaries and the secondaries. These are those ones that are kind of silver with that black liner here. Right there.
Right there. Yeah.
Can't forget that part, can I? Okay. And I like doing different things. I'll drop, when I'm drawing patterns, I'll drop up several patterns. And then when you think you're happy with something, and that's the one you go with, or carve all of them. But it's nice if you're doing a rig, you can make several different patterns and carve them and hunt over them, and they're all not the same. It adds some interest to your rig. So that's kind of how I start the side profile. Any questions on that?
it sounds good.
No, I think we're pretty impressed on it.
This is some really nice paper. It's comes in a roll like this. Michaels carries it, or Dick Blick. I think Dick Blick is where I find it easier. They're in Bloomington. I think Roseville has a location as well, but it's nice paper, pretty economical, lasts a long time. And it's nice for this, you know, if you want to do this and you want to change something, you want to, rather than drawing the whole body again, you can trace the head and raise it and kind of overlay it over the body. You can kind of see it all looks through the paper, and then if you like it, you can draw another pattern. But this is really nice stuff.
What's it called, tracing paper?
It's tracing paper. Comes in a roll like this. You can get it in bigger rolls or smaller rolls. I think this is probably about 18 inches. But it's nice stuff. So now I need a top profile pattern. So I don't have a ruler on me, but otherwise I would use some sort of ruler to run up my measurements. So that's my tail, front of my tail, back of my side pocket, my shoulder front, and the breast front. Then I'll draw a center line. Use a straight center line.
Doug's on
You've had your head turned too long.
Right. So I'll kind of start here. Let's see, with the tail. Here's the front to back, so you can take measurements if you can find good photographs. Use a pattern out of a pattern book to assist you with some of this stuff. But here again, I'm kind of taking a measurement off a taxidermy mount, which I told you isn't probably the best thing to do, but it's better than nothing. Just sketching right now. If you want to do half the bird, and then you can fold this tracing paper and trace the other half too. I'll do that anyway, because then you're the same from one side to the other. Get that rump going. So we need that measurement. Let's see. Start up here.
Yes.
Yeah. Trying to sleep.
Do you buy wood to fit your pattern, or
I
find wood to fit the
find, yeah, I have a decent amount of wood. When I buy wood, I always try to get to at least 8 inches wide.
Okay.
If you know, a lot of my decoys are wider, especially my divers, wider than what they really are. I find them more stable on the water. Puddle ducks, I widen them up a little bit, but if you widen them too much, they don't look like puddle ducks. So you got to be careful with puddle ducks, getting them too wide. I probably would make this wider than this, but anyway, I'll just go into my head a little bit here.
You're always thinking about how we're gonna ride on the ocean. Right?
Yeah,
How we're gonna ride here, right?
right.
Additionally, it makes it look too fast.
I know. It's the beauty of pencils.
And that's why I'm pretty good.
So I'm probably pretty wide here. Get that shoulder,
Tom, that's more than 8 inches, so we don't.
probably. So you can always narrow it up.
Put it on a diet.
It's a fat duck.
It's a fat duck. It's a healthy canvasback.
Eating a lot of salt.
Yep. Get some shoulders in here. Kind of drawing that. Get your side pocket profile. And we'll get that up here.
Do you have a drafting table at home that you do this on, or do you use a kitchen table?
Just on my workbench.
Just right on the bench?
Does it on the wall.
Yeah.
That's in the kitchen.
For doing it on the wall, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I usually don't do this.
That one.
It probably shows.
No,
Yeah.
there's always stuff on my bench. It's never
Yeah.
clean.
So that's a pretty good idea of how I do it. I am pretty wide, I think.
Yeah, that's better. I like that.
And the primaries aren't crossed there. right?
Nope, yep, you're right. I haven't put those in yet.
Good pattern.
Just some sketching back and forth. That's kind of how I do the top. Any questions on that?
The two top, put some feathers in there, right behind the head.
Here?
Yeah, and just to see what you do there.
So these kind of come sweeping off, so I'll put some flow lines in.
Yeah. Okay. Good, good.
And these come off here, and sweeping like this. So they kind of come sweeping off. They're larger back here and they get smaller as they come around. And it gets to be kind of a transition where you gotta bring them off here. The divers and their breasts, the feathers are in rows like this, where a puddle duck is more in rows more like this. But you don't want to get too many rows, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do some odd numbers and then break it up. But the divers have more of these rows, or they're running this way.
What's kind of the minimum detail that you need in a pattern? And what's kind of the maximum?
Minimum would be just your basic outline. And you may want to outline and maybe define side pocket. You can carve it round like that old Decoy there, the body style. You could, it's really whatever you want to do, how much detail you want to put into them. If you're going to put a lot of detail, like wood burning and stoning and all that real fine detail in the painting and stuff, do as much research as you can, get as much information as you can. You can never have enough. So, yep. If you're doing a working decoy, you know, something for hunting, or you know, this I'd be happy with. So, just something quick and easy. It's kind of your classic can pose.
And you could drop the tail. If
You
were
could
gonna
drop
try-
the tail if you want on
If
this.
you were gonna try and
Yep.
make it float, you would drop your tail. and-
Yep, if you wanted to. Then you want to establish your water line. So let's just do that. Put a water line in here. I use straight edges when I'm doing this stuff. It just makes those lines. So you could bring this tail down. You bring that rump under here.
Yeah, that was good.
So you can do that, and then all this would kind of, these primaries you might want to drop. And these would, you might want to drop all of this here, and you can see more of the top of the body exposed. So by doing all of that, then all this would move down. So you'd move this down here. This would open up there. This here. And then your primaries would come up through here, like that.
That's kind of where that tracing paper shines, is you could
Yeah.
lay another layer over the top of what you
Yeah.
have here, and then draw it back out.
Right,
So if you lift the paper, you still have the original one you drew.
yeah,
And your adjustment is decide which one you like better.
right. Good point. No, I just made a scribble mess of both of them.
This is my man.
Any questions? Another nice thing these study bills show, if you got some eyes, you know, you can double check it, but hot glue some eyes in there, or just hold them in there and then take a measurement, and that'll kind of give you your eye width when you're carving.
Tom, would you hold up by the nicer of your two hands there
Yeah,
and show us the side?
side pocket.
Yeah. Head cans are so tough to get that, it's almost a modeled
Yeah,
big eye.
Yeah.
You know, you try to get those nice feathers in there,
yeah.
and
You don't
it's
even
random.
you don't even see them.
No,
It's basically a silver gray with some taupey brown in there, and well, these, I don't know, these are passed away at the same time.
yeah,
So I don't know if it's an age thing, or look at the color difference, where this one's got some silver in it, but not like this one.
yeah.
So hens can really vary, and it's not just canvasbacks, it's all of them.
Yeah.
They vary, and I'm sure it's the time of year and their age and everything else. So even
You shot these in the spring?
No, these are from a game farm. Yeah, right.
You have to come
St.
on
Lou.
Zoom.
You able to get that on film? Yeah. It's a testimony.
He's a spring hunter.
Yeah. But even the wings, you can see, look at the gray.
Yeah,
They're more silver and these are more taupe.
yeah.
Just a brighter looking bird.
Well, if that darker one would be the older bird. Maybe.
Oh, they'd be older or younger?
I think the silver would be older.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know.
The drakes get whiter as they get older.
Yeah.
Their wings.
Yeah, so you have a lot of freedom with your painting and
That brown is really a beautiful brown.
yeah, it is. Chestnut. Yep. They're cool birds. Here's some patterns if you want to look at some I've done over the years. Here, this was a kind of a preening redhead I did. So there's top view, so you're trying to add a wing out, exposed, and then with the side profile, I basically start with a block of wood. You kind of do some pattern on it. I think that the first time I did this one, I did a clay model of it, and then I traced the outline, and then I'll draw this on, and I'm kind of carving from top down to find all this stuff, and then you're kind of shaping it through here. So there's not a lot of detail in this side profile pattern. I put a lot of detail into this one, and then you kind of find it. I did the same with a pintail hen. This one I drew more detail on, but you can see that hen, that tail was dropped, and I had it somewhat fanned. Like when I carved this, I actually turned it even more. And then the head I have turned, and a couple of other canvas back patterns. There's a little difference in them. Head high, head lower. Here's how I was talking about the primaries are dropped, and these are raised. Golden eyes, I've had fun with golden eyes over the year. It's kind of a courtship display. I do have a pattern here somewhere where the head's on the back. That was fun. I carved a pair of Labrador ducks for someone last year. There's the Drake pattern. That's hard to find any reference on that, so I'm probably wrong, but there just isn't a lot out there on a Labrador duck. But redheads, a sleeper, I've done sleeper redheads in cans. So this is a redhead. The pattern for that. And then when I do the head, let's see if I can find. I got patterns all over here. There's a hen canvasback sleeper, a drake. So there's a top profile of a canvasback sleeper. If you look at this, it's not symmetrical from side to side. When they're doing this breast is puffing up through here, which causes a little indentation here, and then it's fuller and rounder through the back side of that head, so the neck can come around. So that's something to think about when you're doing a sleeper.
Did you have an overhead picture of one?
I think I did, and it's just something I've learned.
Interesting.
Finding the top view of a duck is hard.
What?
Finding the top view on the
Yeah.
internet is.
That'd be hard.
So this is canvasback hen sleeper.
Huh.
So that's kind of cutting out the body. So like this drake, I got it. So I cut out the body, that's where I'm cutting it out at.
And then just put.
And then I cut the head out. This is backwards, but that line, I'm cutting that head out there, so it'll just sit on top of there. So you really don't see a lot of the head when you carve it, so you gotta find the rest of the head and the neck in the body block. But they're fun to do. They're challenging.
I think it was a golden eye that you were saying where it was stretching forward. How did you make the top pattern of that?
The head, I'll leave more wood for that. I'll maybe get the bill. So when you cut this out on the block, you want that grain running with the bill. So you want that placed on your block like this. So when you cut it out, you can cut out the top of the bill.
Okay, well, I'm thinking just a little different than what you're describing there. When the duck leans forward like that, that changes the top profile.
The back feathers, yeah.
Part of that front profile.
Oh, up here?
Yeah, how do you figure?
Oh, you just have to make sure you got enough wood here. So that, I'll see if I can find the profile here. Here it is. So I got the body here. So I added all of this wood here.
Okay.
And then when you carve it, you end up taking away what you
Just
don't need.
It doesn't look right.
Yeah. So you want to make sure you have enough wood up front.
So you just added basically. like
Just
a
added.
buffer
Yeah. Let's see if it,
From,
so basically from this line where the head joint is, you bring that straight down and that'll tell you how long you need that, your body. Does that make sense? You line that center line up the back of the tail, it pretty much, my body pattern is coming out to where that neck seam is here. So I just added that much. Oh, here's my golden eye I did with the head back. Courtship display.
Make glue.
That was fun to do. The bill, I took a piece of dogwood and carved the bill and inserted it.
Appreciate it.
Any questions at all? Or? Yes, sir.
How would you do the plan view of the head of going back to your pattern?
Oh, sure. So let's see here.
So when you draw your pattern out and you're using a pencil, do you use just a regular old eraser that comes with it, or do you use those polymer erasers?
I use this as long as it's soft. Sometimes they get hard and tear paper and don't erase very well, but as long as they're soft, I just use that. Draw a center line here. So front of the bill is there. Back of the bill at the base is there. The eyes, center eye is there. And the back of the head is there. So kind of have those reference marks again. So front of the bill, back of the bill, center eye, and the back of the head. So that'll give me the overall length that'll match with this. You can take this if you want. Center. I think I'm gonna have that crooked a little bit here, I think. I'll come the other way. So I said, I'll start with that. So your front of your cheek right there is here. One thing to look at too is how this is shaped. If you look at this bluebill, it kind of goes in, out, and around and down. Like, I'll just exaggerate here. Kind of like that. Canvas back is pretty long and pointy. Like that. So it's something you have to look at too. So I'll get this measurement there, put that on there. So that'll give me a start. Then the eye, I'd use a different measuring device for this, but that's what I've got here with me. It's the eye. Eyes are going to be right there. Something like that. I always want to leave on your pattern, or when you cut it out, just make sure you leave enough wood on your sides so you're not too tight, so you're starting off narrow. And this will get you close. Canvasbacks their necks are thicker. So if you're going to cut out the top profile, you want to make sure you leave enough wood. And if you got a long sweeping neck, you just want to leave enough wood so you don't cut too much out and your neck ends up being too narrow. Maybe down in the cheek somewhere or something. You want to leave enough wood.
Thank you.
Alright. Any questions?
Thanks, Tom.
Anyone need a pattern?
Yeah, that was amazing, Don, thank you.
Make it look easy.